Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am happy to bring you the Paizo preview for March 2024. Yes, it's been a while since I did a Paizo preview, and mainly it's because the release schedule has been sort of all over the place for Paizo Inc. the past couple of months. But it is March. We have 4 releases. 2 of them are big releases that I know a lot of people out there are very excited to get a look at. Yes, that's right. I am talking about the Pathfinder Monster Core and Pathfinder Adventure Path number 200, 7 Dooms for Sandpoint. Yeah, so we will be diving on in to take a look at those in just a moment. But first, I am going to start off by taking a peek at the Pathfinder Flip-Mat boarding school. This carries an MSRP of $16.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $9.99. So let's take a peek. I've got it right here. Let's get the shrink wrap off. School's in session. Whether your players are students themselves or the ones responsible for solving a risky problem before things get out of hand, turn to Pathfinder Flip-Mat boarding school. From frightful legends that students speak of in hushed whispers to struggles to contain failed alchemical experiments to lighthearted stories of schoolyard mischief, these school buildings feature everything you need for an academic adventure, including classrooms, dormitories, a lunchroom, and a library. Gotta say, that font is awfully small. So let's take a look at this flip mat. And of course, it is dual-sided. So it is 3 by 3. So here this looks like these are the classrooms on this side here. It's like we've got an outbuilding as well right here. A couple of statues, entrance to a walled compound, actually. And then we'll flip this over, and it looks like here we have got a bit of a courtyard. It's like that might be dormitories there. Some more dormitories. There we go. So that is the flip mat. And of course, I mention this every time we start looking at these flip mats, that if you play skirmish level miniatures games, these are excellent. They work really, really nicely. So you don't have to use these only for role-playing games. All right, next up, we'll be looking at the Starfinder Flip-Mat Shopping Mall, which carries an MSRP of $16.99, or grab just the PDF for $9.99. So let's take a peek at that. Let's get the shrink wrap off here. Looks like it might be a little easier to read this here. Shopping trip. From the hustle and bustle of a busy shopping center to the dilapidated, overgrown shell of a once appealing plaza, there's adventure to be had in malls across the galaxy. One side of this flip mat depicts a futuristic mall with an open entryway for crowds to mingle, numerous shops, and a luxurious food court to enjoy a bite to eat. The opposite side shows an abandoned mall and is the perfect site for a haunting or remnants of a post-apocalyptic civilization. All right, so we'll take a peek at this. Let's open this up. So this side looks like this is our futuristic mall. Looks like we've got hats and shoes in that store. Green brains. Almost looks like maybe they're trees of some sort. This is our food court. Our entryway here. And of course, this is also 3 panels by 3 panels. That might be a toy store. Clothing store. And it's like kind of supplies of some sort. So that's kind of cool. Got some plants in the center here too. And this is our dilapidated post-apocalyptic mall, or what many malls look like these days because they're closing down in record numbers, to be very honest. In fact, in the Chicago area, there's a couple of major malls I remember as a teen and in my 20s and 30s that have just recently closed their doors too. Kind of wild. So this is pretty cool. All overgrown. It's like roots of different trees and things like that. Sweet. Pretty nice. Nice detail there. Very, very cool. All right, next, we're going to take a look at one of the big releases. That's right. We're going to be taking a peek at Pathfinder Remastered Monster Core, which is designed by Logan Bonner, Jason Bowman, Liz Liddell, Stephen Radney McFarlane, and Mark Seifter. This 376-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $59.99, or you can grab just the PDF for $19.99. That's a pretty nice deal on the PDF. So, got that. Let's take a peek. Fight for glory. Intense battles call for intense monsters. Inside Monster Core, you'll find over 400 creatures, including fantasy classics like elves, ogres, and all-new dragons, wild animals from giant ants to ferocious wolves, and unique monsters that threaten the world of Pathfinder, like Sinspawn and noxious needlers. These creatures cover all levels of play, from the slow and mindless zombie shambler to the ultra-powerful demonic tree raiser. This collection is an ideal resource for game masters planning their next battles and player characters looking for monstrous allies to summon. This is the third of the trio of core books that people have been very excited to get their hands on. Yes, I do know that we have Player Core 2, which will be arriving at Gen Con, but I know people have been really pumped about the third book because now the trio of major releases will be out for the remastered edition of Pathfinder. All right, so we've got our introduction. Now, I am going to be skipping a bunch of pages here, but I do want to give you a really good feel for what is inside this volume. And I will actually take a closer look at a handful of entries here to kind of give you a breakdown of what is the information that's being presented. I should also point out that the fine folks over at Paizo Inc. have been kind enough to provide me with these review copies, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And to be honest, these days, it's important you know that. All right, so let's take a look at a beetle. So we're going to have different kinds of beetles here. So not all beetles are harmless creatures that can be easily crushed underfoot. Oversized and ravenous giant beetles can be found throughout the temperate and tropical regions of the world. They are often benign creatures, though when threatened or roused, giant beetles are quite dangerous. Their powerful mandibles and tough exoskeletons make for a challenging combatant. So we are getting breakdowns of flash beetles and giant stag beetles. Here we've got some extra information about the various entries. So it looks as if we have here, these are kind of what you're going to collect from them. So almost like components from these creatures. So as you can see, we're going to have these little sidebars with particular information, and these icons obviously represent certain types of information. So with the flash beetle, these 3-foot-long insects boast a pair of glowing organs on the back of the abdomen that give off bright light and that continue to glow for days, even after the creature's death. Flash beetles are commonly herded and harvested by miners and spelunkers, as their glow is considered safer than torches and less expensive than lamps. Denizens of the Darklands often domesticate and train these insects, using them as pets, livestock, or caging them to use as organic sources of light in areas frequented by visitors unaccustomed to the darkness. We are going to get some keywords: small, animal. We get perception bonus here for low light vision, the different skills and their bonuses that they might possess. And then if we have any sort of modifiers for the standard attributes, that's where we're going to see that there. So this has an armor class of 16, fortitude +5, reflex plus, I think that looks like an 8, and will +4. Those are our saving throws. Shows us how many hit points it'll normally have. And then some special info for luminescent aura. So it tells us that it's got a luminescent aura of 10 feet. The flash beetle's bioluminescent organs fill the area with bright light. We get a speed. We get the melee attacks. So it is mandibles +8. So they are agile, finesse weapons. Damage is 1d4 +1 piercing. And then it can utilize as an action a light flash. So then we've got information about the giant stag beetle. We've got the boar, the caligni or caligni, catfolk, demon. So we're going to have various different demons. Now, as far as Pathfinder 2nd Edition, there were 3 bestiaries. I will take a stab in the dark. We will probably see 3 monster cores. Here we have devils, dinosaurs. Looks like we've got various dinosaurs here. Dominion of the Black. Going to start getting into dragons. So dragons have changed with Pathfinder. We no longer have the chromatic or colored dragons. So we have seen changes with that. Of course, the whole objective of the remastered edition of Pathfinder 2E is to get rid of all the open game license content Pathfinder had. Now, there are some modifications that have been made to the actual game mechanics too, but the reality is it's not tremendously different than Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The remastered is still very, very similar. So if you are familiar with 2nd Edition Pathfinder, remastered just tweaks some things, makes it easier to understand, at least in my opinion. And I have really enjoyed the 2 releases to this point for remastered Pathfinder. So as an example, we've got ghouls. Few creatures are more ubiquitous to sinister locations, such as lonely graveyards and ruined crypts, than the flesh-eating undead known as ghouls. So we're going to get information about creating the ghoul, their different abilities, and then we will get different sorts of ghouls. So we've got the ghoul stalker, the ghoul soldier. And I would think possibly in future monster cores, we will get more ghouls. Just like we've got different kinds of giants here. Giants are massive humanoid creatures who live in remote regions throughout the world. They vary wildly, but are united in their hunger, requiring sustenance of their own element, along with the feasts one would expect from such a massive humanoid. So we have a marsh giant, stone giant, frost giant, fire giant, cloud giant, shadow giant, rune giant. Plenty of giants here. The Gimmerling, the Globster, Goblin Dog. I like the artwork throughout. We've got some gremlins, the Grim Reaper. So we have a few different Reapers here. Grim Reaper and Lesser Death. The Halfling. Despite their small stature, a halfling can prove to be a mighty foe if you find yourself on the wrong side of their frying pan. And then we have a couple of halfling archetypes here. The Street Watcher and the Troublemaker. They use kitchen weaponry. So there you see, there is the frying pan there. We got the Harpy. But as I was saying, I actually really do like the artwork for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I mean, granted, yes, the Leshy's a bit cartoonish, but for the most part, the artwork for Pathfinder 2nd Edition and, of course, remastered Pathfinder tends to be fairly realistic, and I like that quite a lot. We have the Norn. The Nymph. Nymphs are a family of fae who have a deep association with the natural world. They often take the form of beautiful humanoids with elven features that match their abodes. The most common of their kind are the Dryads, spirits who embody great trees, but many other kinds of nymphs exist, including naiads who watch over bodies of water. All nymphs are guardians of some element of nature, often a single tree or pond. But in the case of nymph queens, they can watch over whole forests or massive bodies of water. So here we've got the naiad and the dryad. Dryads are fey guardians of the trees and creatures who dwell in wooded areas. They prefer using indirect methods to dissuade those who would harm their sacred groves and beloved forests, but they're not above using magic to enlist the aid of allies who, when evil threats cannot be dissuaded with words alone. In times of peace, Dryads happily live secluded lives inside their trees, and a community at harmony with nature might not even realize a Dryad lives nearby. And once again, we get this all broken down. So they have primal innate spells, and the Dryad can use the tree meld. Very cool. The Oni. So those are Asian-themed giants, or ogres, really, I guess we'll say. The Pegasus. Planar Scion. So as we can see, we have some classic fantasy creatures and monsters, as well as those specific to the world of Galarian and Pathfinder. Here we've got the Rock. I always like rocks because they are massive. As you can see, it's flying off with a mammoth in its talons. So it is classified as gargantuan. Very nice. Shadow, shark. So yes, we will have some traditional animals as well, and beasts. As an example, snake. So it looks like we've got quite a few different snakes there. Spiders. Ooh, that's pretty cool. The Goliath spider. I like that artwork quite a bit. The hunting spider. So the Goliath spider is also gargantuan. The tooth fairy. Also should point out that in the remastered Pathfinder, there is no longer alignment, which is kind of a growing thing with a lot of role-playing games. Alignments are being left behind, which I don't mind. I like to have an idea of what sort of mindsets the creatures and monsters typically will have. And of course, that information is provided, but it's not as if, oh, this is only a chaotic evil or lawful good creature. There are far more shades of gray now. So we've got a glossary of abilities and traits, I should say. We have creatures by level. We also have some rituals, I think. There we go. Some new rituals. So we've got 3 of those. Angelic Messenger, Demonic Pact, and Diabolic Pact. And we've got those creatures by level, as I mentioned, and we're going to wrap up with some ads. Very nice. I am excited to dive on in. And of course, obviously enough, I will have a review of Pathfinder Remastered Monster Core in the very near future. Last thing we're going to be taking a peek at is going to be Pathfinder Adventure Path number 200. That's right. It is 7 Dooms for Sandpoint. It is written by James Jacobs. And this 202-page softcover carries an MSRP of $54.99, or you'll be able to grab just the PDF for $29.99. So I am going to open this up and pull this on out. And there we've got it. So as I already just mentioned, this is a double-sized adventure. So usually with our Adventure Path entries, they clock in at about 100 pages, 96 pages really. This one is going to clock in at 202. And we're going to return to the scene of, as far as I understand, the first adventure path for Pathfinder, and it is Rise of the Rune Lords, which I'll be very honest, I really didn't follow much Pathfinder way back in the day, especially first edition. So I'm not overly familiar with Rise of the Rune Lords. So I'm looking forward to checking this out. Back to where it all began. The town of Sandpoint has seen more than its fair share of danger over the years, including harrowing fires, prolific serial killers, goblin raids, and attacks by giants and dragons. But now the so-called Light of the Lost Coast faces its greatest threat yet. Something sinister has been manipulating events all along, and a new band of heroes must step in to save this legendary small town from 7 deadly dooms. Return to the town where it all began with the 7 Dooms for Sandpoint Adventure Path, a full campaign for 4th to 11th level characters that's presented in its entirety in this super-sized volume. So you are not going to start off at first level. So it would probably be a good idea to get your characters into one of the standalones that are available for Pathfinder that start off at like first level, because they normally will take them through 3rd, which will lead into 7 Dooms for Sandpoint. Or, of course, if you're starting up new characters, just start them off at 4th level. All right, so let's dive on in. So, of course, we've got our credits here. And we've got a map of Sandpoint. So this is an adventure, so it's important to keep in mind, if you are a player and your game master has picked up 7 Dooms for Sandpoint, or maybe they're considering picking this up, by all means, I definitely recommend tune out now, because even though I know nothing about this adventure, I am going to be taking a look at some of the synopsis entries here, and there's going to be some spoilers. So regardless, just paging through, you're going to see some spoilers. So you don't want surprises ruined simply because you're watching this video. So once again, if you are a player, definitely recommend, tune out now. Save yourself the hassle. Okay, so the campaign overview. The town of Sandpoint is worse than doomed. For decades, this small settlement has endured one potential disaster after the other, but each time, a hero or group of adventurers stepped in to save the day. Yet now, 7 separate dooms have come together, converging on the region in a way that, if not defeated in time, could well bring ruin 7 times over to the so-called Light of the Lost Coast. So we've got the first doom is Grave Knight Goblins. Second is the Sandpoint Devil. The third is there's a poisoner trying to poison, it looks like, the town's water supply. The fourth is an evil cult that actually worships the Sandpoint Devil. Fifth is a ghost of a murderer. Sixth is a ghast priest trying to transform the people of Sandpoint into undead pawns. And then the 7th doom is the Red Bishop trying to, I guess, manipulate the player characters. All right. So we've got this broken down into 9 different chapters. And then it looks like we'll have a gazetteer, probably an adventure toolbox as well. So here we've got our first chapter. This adventure begins with the PCs at 4th level. The 7 Dooms for Sandpoint Player's Guide, available for free at Paizo.com, provides information for players to help them create brand new 4th level characters for this adventure, including advice for generating extended backstories to cover the adventures they were on during 1st through 3rd level, with help in determining what magic items they start with. It says you might have already run one or more adventures or campaigns set in the town of Sandpoint. So no suggestions on some standalone adventures you might decide to run prior to. I don't know about those of you watching, but from my experience over the years, most players I have played with or run adventures for, they prefer to start from scratch. They're not real big on creating new characters of higher levels or outside of 1st level, or in some cases 0 level characters. So I'm kind of curious how that goes over with most people. So here we've got Chapter 2, Strange Times in Sandpoint. Just kind of zipping along through here to try to stay away from as many spoilers as I possibly can. Then we have Whistles in the Dark, The Pit. So we've got our maps and various different encounters. Looks like we've got a bit of a dungeon there as well. Footprints on the Roof. Shrine of the Sandpoint Devils. This is where the Sandpoint Devil is going to come in to the action here. Kind of curious how all the Dooms kind of tie together. I don't think it's just, oh, here's something that's standalone, here's something that's standalone, here's something that's standalone. I think they do tie together in some ways to make a coherent campaign. I would certainly hope. One thing I will mention is this entire campaign is written by one author, James Jacobs. So that would also lead me to believe that things should connect fairly well. Because sometimes what we'll see with some of the adventure paths, especially when we would see 6-part adventure paths in the past, is that they could be kind of disjointed, that they didn't always flow naturally from chapter to chapter. That's probably not going to be the case here with a single author. And of course, I know there's more authors involved with this than just James Jacobs. I'm sure there are other designers who have helped out. So this is To Raise the Devil. We have the 7th chapter is A Pattern of Killings. I think this is where we get that murderer's ghost. It's like we also have some clockwork characters in this chapter. So here, as an example, we've got clockwork soldiers. Aha, a spectral devil. And of course, if you happen to get this in PDF, you will also have those maps for virtual tabletops. In fact, normally with the Paizo Adventure Path chapters, if you use Foundry, they port over to Foundry really easily and very nicely. So that's something to keep in mind. So it looks like we're going to wrap up the adventure at page 163. So the campaign itself appears that it runs probably about 155 pages. So here are some ideas if you want to continue the campaign. Looks like this is the Sandpoint Gazetteer. Then, of course, we'll have our adventure toolbox, which should give us some new magic items, new spells, new bestiary entries also. So this is still the Gazetteer. So we do have keyed locations on that map. We saw the map on the interior of the front cover. So here are some new items. So we have research. And then we're going to get into the bestiary. So we have Fungus Tyrant, Canker, who is a major NPC, the Red Bishop, which we already know they are a major NPC as well. And then we're going to wrap up and have some ads. And then, of course, this spring we have Tianjia, the World Guide, coming. So that is Asian themed. I know a lot of people are very, very excited about this, especially with the completion of the Season of Ghosts Adventure Path, which should fit into this World Guide really nicely. And actually happens to be one of my favorite of the Pathfinder Adventure Paths that I've reviewed. All right, so that is a peek inside 7 Dooms for Sandpoint. Obviously enough, the Gaming Gang will have a review of this adventure campaign in the near future. All right, that is it for this time out. Thank you very much for hanging out to check out the 4 new releases this month from Paizo Inc. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this month's Paizo preview, it'll also inform you when my live stream, The Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.